dubious. I'm going to show you a quick video of some forklifts working in unison. I thought it was pretty cool. Of the tubiest, the best YouTube subscribers on the planet. That's you. And I'm 50 plus. I know you probably said, well, had a little video. Yeah, it is what it is. But I thought it was pretty cool. You know, those three forklifts lifting that long crate. Inside of it was some insulation panels that goes on the side of these big, huge tanks that holds crude oil. And it was pretty cool because when I got there to deliver it, they had this big, huge hole cut in the side of this tank. And then in the side of the tank were these big, huge elements that is heating elements. And it was pretty cool. I kind of walked around in there, and they were cleaning it and welding it and making some repairs and putting those insulation. That's pretty cool. You come out here and do some flatbed, you're gonna do some work. There's tarping and strapping. There's a lot more involved than dropping a hook into a trailer. So, but it's pretty cool. I've been enjoying it. And if you guys want to come drive from Melton, I have some information down at the bottom, a link where you can click and it'll take you right to the process. Is pretty simple. You just fill in your name and contact information and the recruiter will get in contact with you. So it's pretty cool, pretty easy. And we're staying busy. Now, I will say I'm a little bit worried because if things continue, I think by deductive reasoning, you would believe that the reefer guys and the driving guys would be the last to slow down, which means the big boys at the top going down will slow down, like heavy stuff, moving big machinery, stuff like that. And then us flatbed guys will probably be next. So I'm hoping it doesn't get to that. However, my son does pull heavy stuff, and he got an email from his company saying, start saving your pennies, pretty much. So he's a little worried, and and I get concerned too, because if he ain't got no money, you know what that means. So hopefully he can keep busy. Other than that, today's going to be a little short video. I just want you guys to see that. You come out here and do. I tell you what. I will say this: the time that I spent with drive-in and refrigerated, I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and that's how I learned to, drive basically, and park, and that sort of stuff. But if I had to go back to drive-in, I'd do it with my lip poked out, because I much rather do flatbed. And the tarping and strapping, although it's extra work, it's not as hard as people tend to make it out to be. It is work, and most of it is because the tarps are so heavy. These thick vinyl tarps are a little, tiresome to work with, However, Melton will allow the drivers to purchase tarps through them. And I'm going to make that call today and try to get me some tarps ordered. And they're lighter weight tarps, and, they take it out of your paycheck so that you own those tarps. And the good thing about them is they're a lot lighter and a lot easier to work with, and they require a lot less energy to work with them. The downside is if you have to do a repower, you got to take those tarps off because they're yours. And then, you got to put on those heavy, Melton tarps for the next driver. So there is that. However, the positives far outweigh the negatives, and using lighter tarps, man, it's going to make a big difference. Especially where the temperature's starting to heat up, and it gets a little hotter, and yes, it's uncomfortable to work in the cold. But, whew, man, the heat is probably going to be a challenge. We're going to say that's going to work out. I'm going to make it through it, because I let nothing beat me. But I ain't all that happy to have to, working at. Well, I say happy. I'm not all that excited about it. But it is what it is. We're going to make it happen. Again, if you guys want to come over here and haul some freight, we are still busy. I mean, I hadn't had any gap in loads. This one is a pretty fat one. For the middle of the week, it's 1,400 miles. I drop it off on Friday, and then they'll give you something fat to drive me through the weekend, hopefully. So the freight's here, and flatbed is a pretty good place to start. Now, I will tell you this: if you decide you do want to come to Melton, you need to come with a CDL. You don't have to come with experience. You just need to come with a CDL. So if you've gone through a local community college or a trucking school or something, and you have a CDL, just no experience, they will bring you aboard. So don't think that you have to have experience to come here. If you do have some experience, that does help. They start you off pretty good. I mean, they started me off pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. The company is pretty cool, man. I hadn't had any issues, 0 issues. In fact, right now I'm parked at a door at a TA waiting to pull in the inspection bay so they can do an inspection on my trailer. I'm pulling the step deck right now, and they sent me a message over Qualcomm a few minutes ago, and they said, hey, our records indicate that trailer may be out of inspection and registration, and sure enough, it was. So pretty simple, man. You just go inside and say, hey, my trailer needs to be inspected and registered and all that craziness. And they used my TA card, pulled up the truck. I gave them the information, that the little slip of registration paper that was in the trailer tube, that's all they needed. And I just sit in the truck and wait till they call me, and then I'll pull forward into the bay and they'll do it, and I'll be back rolling again. So, it's pretty cool that they help you to, stay in compliance when that is actually something that the driver's supposed to do. When you switch trailer, you're supposed to go check that. And I didn't. And I can make excuses about how I wanted to get done with tarping that load and get rolling, but that's not an excuse. You're still a part of your job. You still, I didn't want to hold the load up, but I would have been held up if I went to a DOT checkpoint. And so they help you stay in compliance, and most companies do. And they're pretty cool about it. They could have said, hey, our records indicate that trailer is out of inspection, and then I called them back and said, you're right, it is out of inspection. I need to, get it in the bay. And then they would have said, well, why didn't you inspect it? Why didn't you check that? You're supposed to check that when you do your pre-trip on a trailer that you dropping hooks, a new trailer to you. So you should have checked that stuff, which I should have. But they gave me none of that. No lip, no nothing. Just, chipper talk and knock it out, brother. And it's a done deal. So, kudos to that. Anyways, didn't want to make this one long, so hope you enjoyed the little clip. I thought it was pretty cool to watch those guys do that forklifty thing, all three of them. They took it off, by the way. The guys cut that box open, that crate. They cut it open, and then they removed those long panels one at a time. They were really light because they're just insulation, so they only needed 3 guys to keep it from wafting in the middle because it was so long. But they just carried them and set them down and then grabbed another one. And it's been pretty cool. And I'll add a little bit to this. Okay, a little bit of time. I'll let you know what I've noticed so far at shippers. Most shippers that I've gone to they don't want you to get out of the truck. And, they basically want you to, pull your trailer where they want you to pull it and stay right there. And they load you, and then somebody comes and hands you the paperwork through the door and tell you to get off their property. The previous load was a preloaded trailer. That trailer I'm pulling right now, the load that was on it, some roofing materials. It was a hazmat load, and it was already preloaded. I just had to tarp it, strap it. They had a note on the door that said, call this number. And so you call the number, and they say, okay, this is the paperwork's in the mailbox. Go get the paperwork and handle your business. Bye. And that was it. The door was locked. You couldn't get in there. The load before that was when I picked up fencing material, and they loaded me, and I couldn't go inside. I didn't go inside. They loaded all the fencing material. Actually, it was this little tunnel thing you drive inside of their building. And I did go out and because I had to strap and tarp inside and everything. They had a little tarp machine, which is pretty cool. And, I had some minor contact with people, within the 6 feet thing, But for the most part, you really don't, when I delivered the fencing material, the guy, they came out and they had a sign on the door. The sign on the door said, call this number. So I saw that note and I turned around, walked back to the truck to get my phone. And when I walked back, the guy met me at the door and says, hey, just pull into the deal and, get in the middle of the building right here, on the side of the building, right in the middle of the road, and we'll unload you. And they knocked it out. So I said, fencing material, how's business? I mean, is it kind of slowing down? Are you making, building a lot of fences? What the hell? And the guy says, oh, man, we're booming. And I said, what? Really? It's like wrought iron fence and custom fences and stuff like that, right? The guy says, what we're moving a lot of is this stuff in the back. And he pointed to the back, and what it was the temporary fence. He says that they are killing it with these temporary fences because so many people are using those temporary fences to cordon off areas like at the grocery stores and these makeshift hospitals and stuff like that. And they said makeshift hospitals. Wow, it's kind of like third worldly kind of stuff, right? So on this load, as I got into New Mexico, when you first get to New Mexico, there's a large amount of area there where there's Indian reservation, right? And right in the middle of these Indian reservations, there's an elementary school. And they have turned this elementary school into a hospital. And, back where it says, Indian reservation elementary school. Well, I don't know what the name of the elementary school is, right? But below that was this big temporary banner, and it says hospital emergency room. And the entrance to the school, they had a little canopy put up there, and then those temporary fences that kind of guide you in. And then on the sidewalk, there was another actual big tent thing, and it said test on the side, and then another one. Well, it was like three in a row. The furthest from the entrance said test, and then something else on the next building, and then the other one said staging or something like that. I was driving past, so I really couldn't see all of that, but they kind of had it set up to where you go in and you can get tested, and then I guess you go to another part and they finish testing you. I don't know how the process works, and then like the last one was where you wait, and then they tell you whether or not you can actually go into the hospital or you need to be admitted or whatever. But seeing that, man, makes it real. You know what I'm saying? They turn the elementary school into a hospital. I was like, wow. So still in New Mexico, I was in Albuquerque, and I picked up this load that I have right now, which is what is that stuff? That's I got it from Quick Creek. It's those little rocks in bags. And the Quick Creek guy, I was like, man, when I entered this state, man, and I told him that same story, he says, well, yeah, we have a hospital that was closed, an old hospital. They are reopening that hospital to treat this stuff. I'm like, damn, dude, what's going on in Albuquerque, But, sitting in a truck, you don't really get the depth of it. And then you run into stuff like that, and, the light bulb comes on. But I guess stuff's pretty serious. So I hope you guys are safe, and, try to not get out the house if you don't have to, okay? There's a lot of people driving around. I don't get it. If you don't have to be outside the house, don't stay in. It's just not worth it right now. I mean, I guess it's a little bit more serious than a lot of people thinking. So be safe, guys. Until I see you again, here's your boop. Boop.